In the sweltering summer of 1900, the ancient city of Beijing erupted in chaos as thousands of determined militants surged through its streets, igniting what would become known as the Boxer Rebellion. The city, once a symbol of imperial power and tradition, was suddenly transformed into a battleground, its walls echoing with the cries of revolution and resistance. Driven by a fierce wave of nationalism and a deep belief in their own spiritual invincibility, the Boxers, so named for their martial arts skills, sought to purge China of all foreign influence. They targeted missionaries, diplomats, and the symbols of Western technology, convinced that these outsiders threatened the very soul of their nation. The uprising quickly engulfed the capital, pitting the Chinese people against a powerful coalition of global powers. The violence and turmoil left a deep and lasting mark on the city and on the course of Chinese history itself. The Boxers believed that their martial arts training and secret rituals could make them immune to bullets and harm, fueling their fearless charges against modern weaponry. This faith in their own invulnerability emboldened them to face overwhelming odds. Their main targets became the foreign legations in Beijing, where diplomats, their families, and Chinese Christians endured a dramatic and harrowing 55-day siege, cut off from the outside world and surrounded by danger. The roots of the rebellion stretched back decades to a period of humiliation marked by the Opium Wars, the carving up of Chinese territory into foreign concessions, and the rapid spread of Christianity, all seen as grave threats to Chinese tradition and sovereignty. Natural disasters and famine only deepened the resentment, as many blamed foreigners for angering the gods and disrupting the ancient harmony of the land. Suffering and hardship became fuel for the flames of rebellion. The Boxers offered a simple, powerful answer to the nation's pain. Foreigners were to blame for China's suffering, and only by driving them out could the country be healed. Their message resonated with millions of ordinary people, desperate to reclaim their sovereignty, dignity, and a sense of national pride that had been eroded for generations. The Boxer Rebellion became a violent, desperate struggle to restore China's dignity and independence, setting the stage for a dramatic confrontation that would ultimately reshape the nation's destiny and echo through the decades to come. The Boxers, or Yihequan, Righteous and Harmonious Fists, were a secret society born in rural Shandong. Mostly young men, they practiced martial arts and spiritual rituals, convinced these granted them supernatural powers and invulnerability. Their anti-foreign, anti-Christian ideology fueled a movement to support the Qing, destroy the foreign. They saw Western technology as a violation of spiritual harmony, blaming it for natural disasters. The Boxers' fight was both political and spiritual, a crusade to purify China. The movement spread rapidly, decentralized and difficult for the Qing government to control. Initially viewed with suspicion, the Boxers gained support from conservative officials who saw them as a weapon against foreign domination. Soon the dynasty would face a fateful choice: suppress the Boxers or harness their fury. The Boxers' fury focused on foreigners and Chinese Christians, seen as agents of humiliation and cultural betrayal. Their anger was not just spontaneous, but rooted in years of growing resentment and frustration, as foreign presence in China became more visible and intrusive. Foreigners symbolized decades of military defeat, unequal treaties, and colonial arrogance, living in privileged enclaves beyond Chinese law. These foreign communities often enjoyed special rights and protections, further deepening the divide between them and ordinary Chinese citizens. Missionaries, spreading Christianity deep into China, challenged traditional beliefs and local authority, fueling resentment. Their efforts to convert villagers were seen as a direct threat to the social fabric and ancient customs that had defined Chinese life for centuries. Converts were viewed as traitors, often benefiting from foreign protection in disputes, which bred jealousy and suspicion. Many Chinese saw these converts as abandoning their heritage, and their association with foreigners made them targets for violence. The Boxers saw them as a fifth column, complicit in undermining Chinese society. Rumors and fear spread quickly, painting both foreigners and converts as enemies within. Violence was targeted and symbolic. Railways torn up, telegraph lines cut, churches burned, and converts hunted. Each act was meant to send a message: foreign influence would not be tolerated. This was a campaign to erase every trace of foreign influence from China's soil. The Boxers believed that only by purging these elements could China regain its strength and dignity. The struggle was brutal, a desperate attempt to reclaim a vanishing world. For many, it was a fight for survival, identity, and the future of their homeland. The Boxers' actions were not random, but a calculated effort to purify the nation. Their rituals and training reflected a deep belief in their cause and a willingness to sacrifice everything. The stage was set for a confrontation that would draw in the world's great powers, forever altering the course of Chinese history. The Qing Dynasty, under the formidable leadership of Empress Dowager Cixi, found itself at a crossroads as the Boxer movement surged across northern China. The empire, already weakened by decades of internal strife and foreign intervention, now faced a crisis that threatened its very survival. Within the imperial court, heated debates raged. Some officials viewed the Boxers as a dangerous, uncontrollable force that could plunge China into chaos, while others saw them as a patriotic movement, an opportunity to unite the people and drive out foreign influence once and for all. As Boxer forces advanced toward Beijing, hardliners in the court persuaded Cixi to embrace the movement, arguing that it represented the will and spirit of the Chinese people rising up against foreign oppression. On June 21, 1900, Cixi made a fateful proclamation, declaring war on all foreign powers in China. This bold move officially aligned the Qing dynasty with the Boxers, setting the stage for a dramatic confrontation. What began as a regional uprising was now transformed into an international conflict, pitting China against the world's leading nations, each with their own interests and armies poised to intervene. The alliance between imperial troops and the Boxers was uneasy and fraught with tension. Modern rifles and cannons stood beside swords, spears, and deep-rooted superstitions about invulnerability to bullets. Some regional governors, wary of disaster, defied the war order and refused to attack foreigners. But in Beijing, the siege of the foreign legations began, plunging the city into turmoil. The capital was transformed into a battleground, with imperial soldiers and Boxers fighting side by side in a desperate and chaotic assault against foreign strongholds. Cixi's gamble, meant to restore the dynasty's power, would instead unleash catastrophic consequences, both for her rule and for the future of China. The world watched in shock and anticipation as the fate of China hung in the balance, uncertain and fraught with danger. The siege of Beijing would soon draw a global response, forever altering the course of Chinese history. News of the Beijing siege united rival powers in a common cause: rescue their citizens and punish China. The eight-nation alliance, Japan, Russia, Britain, France, the US, Germany, Italy, and Austria-Hungary, formed an unprecedented coalition. Despite competing interests, they pooled military resources to mount a rescue and restore foreign prestige. An initial relief force failed, halted by fierce Boxer resistance and sabotage. Realizing the scale of the crisis, the alliance assembled a massive army, over 20,000 strong, led by Japan and Russia. Their mission was clear: break the siege, punish China, and reassert dominance. The march to Beijing was not just a rescue, but a punitive expedition. The world's industrial powers were about to unleash their might on the ancient capital. The fate of Beijing and the Qing dynasty would soon be decided. The stage was set for a dramatic showdown. Inside the besieged legation quarter, around 900 foreigners and 3,000 Chinese Christians faced relentless attack. With limited food, water, and ammunition, they endured 55 days of siege by Boxers and imperial troops. Makeshift barricades and desperate defenses became their lifeline against overwhelming odds. The Boxers' fearless charges, fueled by belief in invincibility, met the defenders' modern firepower. Life inside was grim, rations dwindled, disease spread, and hope faded. Yet solidarity grew as diplomats, soldiers, and civilians worked side by side to survive. Chinese Christians played a vital role, their fate tied to the foreigners they aided. The defenders clung to hope for relief, uncertain if help would arrive in time. The siege became a symbol of the clash between China and the world, a microcosm of the larger conflict. Each day brought new peril, but also resilience and unity. The world watched, waiting for the outcome of this desperate standoff. On August 4, 1900, the eight-nation alliance began its final march to Beijing, overwhelming Chinese resistance with superior firepower. As the relief force neared, the siege's final days grew desperate, but the defenders held on. On August 14th, foreign troops stormed the city, ending the 55-day ordeal. Empress Dowager Cixi fled in disguise, abandoning Beijing to the victors. The city descended into chaos, looting, violence, and retribution by occupying soldiers. Palaces and homes were plundered, civilians suffered, and the Boxer movement collapsed. The fall of Beijing was a profound humiliation for the Qing dynasty. The rebellion's defeat left deep scars, setting the stage for a harsh peace. The world's powers now dictated China's fate. The Boxer Rebellion was crushed, but its legacy was just beginning. With Beijing occupied and the Qing court in exile, the Eight-Nation Alliance imposed the Boxer Protocol in September 1901. The treaty demanded a massive indemnity, 450 million taels of silver, crippling China's finances for decades. Foreign troops gained the right to occupy Beijing and key routes, a constant reminder of defeat. High-ranking officials were executed, and anti-foreign societies were banned under penalty of death. Civil service exams were suspended, striking at the heart of China's traditional system. The protocol was a culmination of unequal treaties, leaving the Qing dynasty broken and humiliated. While it ended the immediate conflict, the harsh terms fueled future revolutions and nationalist movements. The seeds of modern China's transformation were sown in this moment of defeat. The Boxer Rebellion's defeat marked a turning point in Chinese history. The dream of resisting foreign power through tradition was shattered, exposing the Qing's weakness. The humiliation of the Boxer Protocol convinced many that only radical reform could save China. Belated modernization efforts came too late to restore the dynasty's legitimacy. Revolutionary movements inspired by the rebellion's spirit gained momentum, leading to the 1911 revolution and the end of imperial rule. The Boxers, once dismissed as misguided, became symbols of patriotic defiance. Their legacy fueled a powerful nationalism that shaped 20th century China. The rebellion, born from a desire to save the old China, ultimately cleared the way for a new one.